to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Jumping right into things, we have Employee of the Month, Rose Barnes. Would you please come and tell us a little bit about our special employee?
And the sheriff. Yes, our Employee of the Month this month, I was going to say this month, is Isaiah Palmer. He's from the Sheriff's Office. Sean nominated him, and I'm going to let him talk a little bit as well as the sheriff. And he's been here for probably how many years now, Isaiah?
9 years.
Yeah, he was one of the first hires that not long after I came, so he's done a great job, and I want to thank him. And every day I say they put their lives on the line out there, and thank you so very, very much.
Thank you.
So I nominated Isaiah not for any particular call or incident that we responded to, but just all the calls or incidents that we respond to. I can't thank Isaiah enough for his dedication, not only to the community, but the Sheriff's Office and his family. So like I said, there was no particular incident. It's just his everyday due diligence to his job. So thank you, Isaiah.
So a lot of people don't realize, you know, the Sheriff's Office, the way we do things is by seniority a lot. So you get to pick your shifts by seniority. And Isaiah, I have a lot of respect for Isaiah. He chooses to work the graveyard shift or a late night shift because that gives him time with his family. So he's raising his young kids while his wife works in the day and she's home with them at night. So that's quite the sacrifice, in my opinion, that he's made for our county, and he's just reliable. You can always count on Isaiah. He knows his job well, and he performs well and interacts with the public. I think he's very deserving of Employee of the Month.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for everything you do.
Isaiah, do you have a few words to share? Put you in the hot spot.
Yeah, I can share a few words, but they might not be as great as the words that were shared before me. Sheriff's Office is a great place to work. I've really enjoyed working for Jeff and for Sean. They're great supervisors. They're great to work for, and it's just a privilege to be recognized by them.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. It's always great to recognize an Employee of the Month. That way, you know, every time that we're here every month, we can give some attention to the good and the positive that we have here in our community, and the good and the positive we have here at the county, and provide recognition to those best practices that we want everyone to emulate. Item number 2 on the agenda. This is the reason for our special schedule today. The opening of sealed bids for janitorial services at the new Carbon County 7th District Court Building located at 120 East Main Street in Price, Utah. We have Seth Marsing from the Clerk's Office.
Oh, we received just one bid.
Very good. Can you
Go ahead
tell
and
us
open
for the
that.
record who it is and open it for us?
Yep. Says the monthly charge includes labor, annual window cleaning, carpet cleaning, and cleaning supplies. It's $4,600 a month, and I don't have any name on this. It looks like it's Patty Pine that does the cleaning here.
Or her husband, Kent Pine?
Yep, her and Kent and Ashley Moncada.
Well, very good. Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion to accept or, you know, to turn over for review this bid.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid and turn over for review.
To accept or to acknowledge?
To acknowledge the bid and turn over for review.
All right. You have a motion?
Just one question on that, where we have an urgency and short time on this. I know we've got a preliminary contract. How quickly can we make a final awarding, Christian?
As soon as you're satisfied with the numbers and the services, then I think we can turn it around this week, a day or two.
Could we even in this meeting award it based on a satisfactory review.
Yeah, and subject to our review of all the terms and, that's right. Sure, you could do that.
Commissioner Holmes, would you like to provide a different motion?
Yes. I'll make a motion that we approve the contract subject to all the reviews and contract being put in place.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for that clarification, Christian. Item number 3 on the agenda, we have approval of minutes. The first set of minutes I have before me are those from the July 3rd meeting. Commissioners, did you have any corrections or see anything that needed to be changed to this set of minutes?
I saw no changes.
I'll make a motion to approve the July 3rd minutes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
And again, that meeting was held on a different day because of the July 4th activities. The next set of minutes that I have are the July 18th minutes.
Again, I saw no changes. I'll make a motion to approve if there are no changes.
Commissioners, I have one
You have a
change.
change?
On paragraph 21, on page 6, this is on the July 18th one, correct, that you're on?
Yes.
Number 21, it should be Attorney Robert Oliver and not Olger.
A good catch.
I'll amend my motion to include the change from Alger to Oliver on item number 21.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Our last set of minutes for review were for the Wednesday, June 20th meeting.
I'd make a motion to go ahead and approve those.
I'll second those.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The minutes
There
passes review. All right, those are the minutes for review. Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda. Review and possible approval of MOU with Utah Division of Emergency Management. Christian, or let's see.
This just looks like, I don't see that Justin's here, it looks like it's an agreement that states that if there's an emergency or major disaster as that is defined under the Stafford Act, that Carbon County will allow the state government to come in and use our facilities for a staging area, base camp, joint field office, or an interim operating facility. So basically they'll need to, and the specific locations listed on that are the Carbon EOC room up at the top of the ambulance building and the senior center in East Carbon. So that would allow them to establish an emergency operations center on behalf of the state if they needed to do so, if there's a caveat in there that says if available for use. So if we cannot give those areas up for use, then we wouldn't have to, but I don't see any reason, I don't have any legal concerns with making this agreement, so I'm fine with it.
Commissioners, do you have any questions for Christian or questions from this MOU?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries to approve the MOU with the Utah Division of Emergency Management. Item number 5, review and possible revisions to the Carbon County hiring and retention policy. Rose, would you like to speak to this and kind of give an overlay of what we're discussing?
Yeah. Commissioners, so there were some changes required by legislature this year. So in that process, Scott Crook also reviewed some of our other policies and made some recommendations. And if we want to go through them, one on retention, if you look on what is showing page 17, it's a minor change. Just deleting where it says for the general public, there's just a minor change that's taken out. And then On the last page is the page that we probably want to look at a little more closely.
The one with all the red.
Yes. Since we had a reduction in force last year, that triggered us to look at our policy and to make some changes to the policy. I don't have any problems with the recommendations that were made. I don't know if Christian does.
Just one thing, Rose. I was visiting with Casey just before the meeting, and he suggested that maybe we add, and I agreed with this, that we add a line that says, "Nothing contained herein shall be construed as limiting the right of the county commission to determine or adjust the budget of any department or elected official." In other words, although the change says that if there's a job classification that's going to be eliminated and it requires consultation with the department head or the elected official before doing so, that consultation simply is meant to require a discussion to take place.
I think that's
It doesn't give the
right.
elected official or the department head a veto over that reduction in forces. The commission retains the right to do that, and by stating that they retain the right to do so by budgetary means as well, I wanted to make sure that was clear, that if, let's say, there were a dispute between an elected official and the commission as to whether a job classification should be eliminated, the commission still retains the right to do that statutorily under the budget, under their budgetary authority that's given to them by the state legislature. So I wanted to make sure that none of the constitutional powers the commission has under the under state statute and under the Utah Constitution are construed as being given up by these changes Scott made. And so that it's just clarifying that they're retaining that right.
I agree. Will you get me those changes?
Yes.
Get to Scott. Yes.
And I agree with what Commissioner Hopes pointed
Yeah,
out. I
100.
thought that was a very wise move to retain that, so. I would go ahead and make a motion to accept those changes with that one addition.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And again, thanks, Commissioner Hopes, for finding that.
Yeah, I like that addition very much. The next one are grievances.
Yep, it's review and possible revisions to the Carbon County grievances policy. Rose.
Okay, and again, the changes are, there's not a whole lot, but there are some changes that Scott's recommended. If you look through it. I don't have any questions on those. Do you, Christian?
No, I thought those were all good clarifications. I don't know that they change anything other than they make it clear that you only are an employees to grieve events or actions that actually affect them. It's not a method to, a grievance is not a method to inform a supervisor that another employee is not properly performing. You can do that anyway, and that should be taken, but that does not constitute a grievance by and of itself. And it also makes clear that employees must first raise their grievance informally with their immediate supervisor and try to resolve it that way,
And I like
if at all possible.
I think it's important that they always start with their supervisor first and then, move up accordingly. So.
And I think it's important to note it does not, it doesn't take away any other right they have to grieve. None of the changes say that you still have the right to go up the chain all the way up to the county commission. That's still retained in here. And so grievances are still allowed. It just clarifies
it.
what constitutes one and how you initially raise it.
Commissioners, we have a
I'll make a
item ready
motion
for-
to approve.
motion to approve.
Second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Rose. Another item, if you'll bear with us.
Oh, you're fine.
We have review and possible revisions to the Carbon County drug testing policy.
This is a minimal change, but it is one that is required through legislature. It's on page 68, that the observation of the employee and the circumstances of the accident reasonably could indicate violation of county drug and alcohol policy. I don't see any issue with that. But
That's
have to
just
have
a necessary change to
Yes,
comply with
yeah.
the new OSHA rule.
Yeah.
So,
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And then, this one here, we have a review of review and possible revisions to the Carbon County Reporting Governmental Waste Fraud and Abuse Policy.
Again, these are changes that are required by Utah State Legislature this last year. So, Christian, I didn't have any comments on them.
Neither did I. It just requires that we give employees notice that if they follow the reporting provisions outlined in here, they can't be retaliated against or be harmed because they report the misuse of public funds or public property.
I have no objection to those language adjustments in that. I'd make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
All right, item number 9 on the agenda. We have consideration and possible approval of a contract with Jones Waldo Law Firm to represent Carbon County in opioid litigation. Christian, would you mind addressing
Sure.
this?
Commissioners, I spoke with each one of you separately regarding the 4 bids that were submitted regarding by different law firms who want to represent Carbon County in the nationwide litigation against the opioid distributors and manufacturers. And in looking at those contracts, you determined that that the approach, what I received from you and received from speaking with the other attorneys in the county attorney's office, is that the approach by Jones Waldo to file suit in the nationwide litigation is probably what they'll do, rather than filing suit here in Carbon County. They'll file suit in federal district court where other suits have been filed, and that case will probably be processed the same as all the other claims that are being handled in that multi-district lawsuit, which is about, there's over 800 claims, I believe. The firm we're going with is representing over 450 of those firms. They're probably the top. They're affiliated with 6 or 7 other firms, and they are some of the top litigators involved in this lawsuit. They are involved in the case management portion of the suit, and so they're likely to be involved in any settlement, in the drafting of any settlement that happens, or they'll be taking part in any decisions as to where litigation is going to take place. So I feel like by choosing this firm, we're at the center of the litigation. We're with a firm that's going to be driving the litigation. Utah County is also with this firm. This firm, I believe, gives the county the best chance as far as a monetary recovery, in that there's no expenses required to be paid by the county up front. They will cap their fees at 35% of the gross recovery. If it does not go up to that much, if total fees and expenses do not exceed 35% of the gross recovery, then they simply take 25% of the recovery, and there's no fee to us if there is no recovery. So I feel like we've signed on with excellent attorneys that are at the cutting edge of the litigation, that will be driving the litigation, and I think you'll be well represented by them.
And just for the community's awareness, purpose of us entering into litigation and joining many other counties across the nation, as well as states, in this suit, similar to the Ohio suit. We are doing this in an effort to encourage pharmaceutical companies to not focus a lot of their marketing and sales efforts on the physicians, to push narcotics before other procedures and other methods, in an effort to help get to the root of the problem of what we have as far as a opioid issue here in Carbon County. And we feel that this is one of many efforts that we can engage in to do that. And so with that and with that explanation, Christian, if there's any further discussion, we can open up to that, or we can entertain a motion for this contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 10, we have consideration and possible approval of contract with Nielsen Construction for road improvements in Hill Subdivision and discussion of project timelines and future actions on project.
Christian, is this you?
I don't
How do
know.
we-
I'm not sure that we've, I have an update for us right now. I know that what I can say is that our engineering firm, we met with them shortly after we opened the bid from Nielsen Construction to decide if there's anything we can do to cut down the cost of the construction and the cost of the project generally. As you recall, Commissioners, you passed an ordinance indicating that it was your intent to levy an assessment of approximately $700,000 to pay for the paving on the Hill subdivision. In fact, the bids for the paving project alone, separate from the engineering portion, were significantly higher than that $700,000. I believe the low bid was Nielsen Construction, somewhere around $840,000. I may be off there a little bit, but it's right around that amount. So we're also going to have engineering fees that are going to be probably near $100,000. There will be a bond fee to get the funds, which I'm told will be about 1% of the total amount bonded for. And there will also be attorney fees from Eric Johnson, who's been guiding us throughout this process. So with that in mind, we've got to, the question is, to what extent can we reduce that dollar amount? To what extent can our engineer and possibly the contractor find some additional value that can reduce that cost? We met with Johansson and Tuttle, I believe, week before last. They were going to look at some other options for some of the ditching, for some of the borrow on the road. I have not received a report as to whether they can peg a number, where they can peg a number at for construction, and to what extent they can reduce that cost. The one thing I would advise you, Commissioners, is that $700,000 was just an estimate. You have the authority to go ahead and go forward with the levy at a significantly higher amount, which right now would probably be closer to $980,000 to $1 million if you went forward. That's significantly over the amount that was estimated. So the question is do you wish to go forward with that at this point anyway, or perhaps you may wish to see whether the subdivision and the homeowners association wants to pay a bill that's going to be significantly over what they were expecting. I think that's what we're trying to find out. We need to see, my recommendation is we see what the homeowners association and the residents individually are willing to do and to pay. We need to see what additional value has been found for us by our engineer. And so at this point, I don't know that I would recommend you not enter into a contract as of now, given the fact that it's going to be so significantly higher than what was expected, and given the fact that we're in the process of seeing if we can bring that amount down. Really, basically, I think it comes down to deciding what the comfort level of the homeowners association really is. What amount would they be comfortable? So I know there have been some members of the homeowners association who have been trying to pull the members. I think there's going to be an attempt to visit with them tonight to see what they're willing to pay. I'm going to be attending that meeting. So right now, I guess I don't have anything for you other than that update, that we're in the process of listening to our engineer and trying to see what amounts we can cut down.
Well, Christian, I kind of agree that any decision right now would be a little bit premature on our part, as far as entering into a contract with so many uncertainties as far as how the residents of this area feel. I know that, well, just I guess as far as clarification for anybody who hasn't been involved in this process, the consideration is for a special assessment area in the Hill subdivision where the county would pay for improvements initially, at which time over the next 10 years those residents would pay back the county for those improvements. I know certain residents initially had the expectation that this would only cost $400,000, somewhere in that ballpark, but then further studies were done which revealed that it would likely cost a lot more than the more extensive studies to actually get bids on what things truly would cost, or an estimate on those bids, as Christian has mentioned, came in much higher than our first perceived amounts or estimates. And so I am in agreement with, as the chair, with what Christian has mentioned, that we should probably get more information, let a little bit more time go by, get a review done. However, commissioners, do you have more discussion? Do you have more ideas? How do you feel about this?
One of the things that I think we need to address fairly quickly is through Kay's office, through the Treasurer's office, there have been requests for the refunds of prepaid portions of those assessments. And so we are going to have to establish either some procedure or some direction on how to handle those going forward also.
The only comment I have is that I'm uncomfortable passing anything without having the homeowners being okay with it before we move forward with any additional. It was approved at the 700,000. Anything over that, I'm uncomfortable without the homeowners having that say.
So as far as an agenda item,
I'll make a motion to table.
This is more of an informational update at this time. We have a motion to table or postpone. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I don't believe we're in a public open meeting. It's up to the chair and to the attorney.
You know, we have a bunch of comments being made later tonight, but as just a momentary thing, please go ahead and come to the mic. Again, this is out of normal protocol for what is proper order, but please feel free to come to the mic, state your name, and tell us what your comment is, if you'll please be brief.
My name is John Boyle. I and my wife Nancy are homeowners up in the Hill subdivision, have been since 2000. Well, we bought it in late 1999 or 98.
And will you be participating in the meeting later tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
And what this regards is a road that's 1.5 miles long. It's not a very long road. Only 500 yards of that is even a problem. The rest are flat. Okay, 100 yards is mild grade between the level of the pit, the gravel pit, and the other 1/4 mile is that steep hill up at the front. The rest of it is duck soup. You could give this to your road guy and tell him to go out and build the road, and you don't need any engineering, or at least none more than he does daily. My concern is, following the last meeting we had, Curtis Page and Jonathan Johansson stood out there and told us that $100,000 of engineering and management were going to be billed to us taxpayers. That's the very first time I had heard that. Very first time. Certainly when I signed that note that assent to go ahead with the road, there was nothing in that paper that I can recall, and I don't have a copy of it, that said that the engineering and management, or I'm not sure management's the right word, but that the engineering would be dealt by us. Okay? You do have a civil engineer on staff here in the county, right?
Sure. Now again, this is not a question and answer. I just wanted to hear some of your comments.
Okay. I think he is a civil engineer. I've had discussions with him. I think that you can't talk about building a road if you don't have people to take care of it. We should have been informed way early on in the discussions that we're going to have to farm this out.
So
I just had one, that's number one.
okay, how many items do you have again? Because
One.
Okay, just one item.
One item.
All right.
I asked Kay Colosimo to review the tax records dating back to 2000. Those were as far as she could go. I said, how much have the people who live up there, all ever since we first built and borrowed, Wises, etc., how much money have we paid into the county for zero services? You realize the county at this point does nothing up there. Prywide does, that's it. The power company ran a lineup, that's it.
Well, I wouldn't say zero, because if you need an ambulance, the ambulance comes. If you need the sheriff comes.
I understand.
They're-
It pays for that, and I'm happy to pay for schooling and stuff like that.
Right.
You have any idea how much money we paid in taxes in the past 18 years?
I don't.
I'll tell you, $423,189 in taxes into the county, and then you have the gall to tell me that you can't pick up the engineering.
Okay.
It angers me unbelievably.
Well,
Makes me want to put my house up for sale and move.
Okay. Now, again, this was not a proper order of proceedings during this meeting. I did want to hear what you had to say, and I appreciate your comments. And, you know, it is on our record now.
Thank you. I
Thank you.
wanted to get on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just as a bit of thank you. Just as a bit of clarification, just from my little bit of knowledge, again, I'm probably the commissioner that has been least involved in this process. I'm not over the road department. I'm not, you know, involved in a lot of the other services that have been participating. But I am aware that from the very beginning discussions with the Homeowners Association and with these meetings and in the public meetings, that it was discussed that whether or not the assessment and the project would be implemented, that a lot of the engineering costs that were incurred would be paid for by the landowners, by the homeowners there. And that you know, was, again, from these meetings in the public setting. And I apologize for anybody who was confused by that. Again, there's been a lot of meetings, and not everybody has attended all the meetings, but they have been all available for public record. Commissioner Hopes, you were talking about, you were making a few comments. I don't know if you had a chance to hit everything. Okay. With that, unless there's anything else from the commission, we'll go ahead and move on to item number 11. Item number 11, we have review and possible approval of fiscal year 2019 summer opt-in agreement with Utah Office of Tourism for a matching grant for out-of-town marketing. And Commissioner Potter, I don't know if you want to present this item?
Yeah, Commissioners, this is an opportunity to expand our tourism dollar. It is on. To expand our tourism dollar usage during the summer, we've made an application for a total of $14,000, of which $7,000 of that would be the match, and it would just allow us to continue to advertise, market our summer events, and have the Office of Tourism pay half of those bills. So I think it's a good opportunity. They continue to have these cafeteria plans, and as they come out where we can match them, we should always take advantage of the state dollars.
Can you give us an example of how this has worked in the past and how it might work in the future?
The cafeteria plans have always been rolled out by the state with eligibility in a number of areas, as far as sometimes it pertains strictly to print marketing, sometimes it's billboarding, sometimes it even goes on to cooperative agreements with other states. But the dollars that are collected and have to be spent, they're always targeted towards outside market. And so as this comes forward, this happens to be a domestic program versus an international program, and there'll be another rollout this fall as far as what they're looking at for this next year. This one had a total of availability of up to $70,000, and again, that varies based on their program and their funding levels. But the Office of Tourism on the state level is very interested in helping not only the national parks, but also the rural areas, the roads to the national parks, to be able to
advertise and get as many visitors as we can in our local areas.
So not to be confused with our local TRT money and the local money that we get from the restaurant and hotels, but this is money that the state receives that we can apply for, and you mentioned upwards of...
$7,000 of this would come from the TRT funds. The other $7,000 would come from the state.
Right, okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2019 summer opt-in agreement with the Utah Office of Tourism.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion to adjourn.
So moved, we are adjourned.
Buckle up.
We'll move on to departmental reports.
Buckle up. Drive safe.
And we'd like to remind and make sure that everybody is aware that we encourage you to buckle up and drive safe. I'm glad you remember that.
Have a good night.